and welcome to our devotion for reading through the Bible in the One Year Bible. And today is September 15th. And in our proverb reading, we look at Proverbs chapter 23, verses 13 through 14. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. If you strike him with the rod, you will save his soul from Sheol. Well, this is one of the more famous Proverbs, probably because it has been used both correctly and incorrectly as it has been applied to the raising of children. The Hebrew expression in both verses 13 and 14 for strike with the rod are exactly the same. The promise that the disciplined son will not die is also very similar in meaning to the idea of saving his soul from Sheol. So here we could compare the promises in Proverbs that righteousness saves or delivers from death. This promise is found in Proverbs chapter 10 verse 2 and 11 verse 4. Also take note of Proverbs chapter 11 verse 6, which says, "The righteousness of the upright delivers them." Here we remember that our righteousness is a righteousness that is imputed or is credited to us for the sake of Jesus Christ. So, this proverb contained in these two verses serves to instruct those who are placed over young people to rear them by giving them the discipline they need. These verses, however, do not necessarily mandate corporal punishment. The discipline should be appropriate and only as harsh as needed to instill knowledge. More on that later. And this is made clear as we look at Proverbs chapter 13 verse 24, which says, "Whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him." Notice that the key word here is the word loves. Raising children is counterintuitive sometimes. It's difficult to punish the children that you love so much. It's also difficult for children to understand that proper discipline from their parents is a sign of love. Now, even non-physical forms of punishment are painful, yet failure to discipline appropriately ends up causing much greater pain later on. While, as we look at this verse, it doesn't rule out corporal punishment if that is something that is appropriate, societal, and ethically appropriate. However, it does not command believers to use corporal punishment. In any event, this verse in the Proverbs should not be interpreted literalistically as requiring parents to beat their children with a rod. That's not what it is telling us to do. Once again, the form of discipline should be appropriate for the infraction and also for the learning ability and sensitivity of the child. We could also compare Proverbs 22:15, which says, "Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him." So today's proverb encourages parents not to neglect punishment out of a false sense of compassion that cannot bear any suffering by the child. Instead, appropriate discipline administered wisely and in love will train the child not to wander away from the faith and into sin. The parent's ultimate goal here is to rescue their child from everlasting death and hell and preserve that child in the true faith unto everlasting life, which is exactly what the Heavenly Father does for his children, as it says in Hebrews, "For the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises every son whom he receives." So God is able to and does discipline us for our good. Thankfully, God and his word also help us to be wise in the way that we discipline, if that is the position we've been given in life, so that we can fulfill the words of Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. May God be with you and bless you.